Community-wide outrage today over the shooting of a toddler caught here in the crossfire, sitting in his car seat last night on North Clinton Avenue. That 3-year-old boy underwent surgery and is now in critical but stable condition. One of the suspects under arrest is 16 years old. Good afternoon. I'm Jenny Ryan.
And I'm Doug Embledge. The other suspect arrested, 34-year-old Travis Lewis, has a lengthy criminal record and was out on bail, awaiting sentencing in a shooting from last year. As Dalton Williams reports, Lewis could have been behind bars, but his sentencing was delayed.
That's right. Police tell us Lewis was sentencing for his conviction in January's shooting last year, but was delayed because he was recovering from a gunshot wound. Now he is accused in this latest shooting. Officers heard the shots that rang out from this corner store as they happened. It helped in tracking the suspects quickly.
Officers did chase, and I can now say captured a 16-year-old male. He was found to be wearing body armor while in possession of a loaded .40 caliber Smith & Wesson handgun in a quantity of suspected fentanyl. Officers also chased 34-year-old Travis Lewis down Sullivan Street, during which time he discarded a Smith & Wesson 9mm handgun while running into a house.
Police say Lewis was most recently charged with assault and criminal possession of a weapon in March of 2021. Police say it stemmed from a shootout that wounded a man.
Although the court has not yet sentenced him on this, he is looking, again, this is for the previous incident, which he was not incarcerated on, he is looking at a potential sentence of years in state prison.
To address the violence concerns in this neighborhood, police plan extra patrols. But the police union says the force is already stretched thin and working overtime.
The problem is we've hit a point in time where we're beyond the ability to even cover our shortages by overtime. That's a critical situation. That's the issue. Our people are, I don't know how they're doing it, but they're continuing to do it, and they're doing it well. And they need to be supported on that. And then we need to find ways that we can support them, because we're running out of ideas here.
Mazio today called for support from the council members for policing issues. Police, meantime, say they continue to search for suspects tied to the shooting of the toddler last night.
Last night, 13 WHAM's Carla Rogner spent the afternoon in the North Clinton neighborhood hearing what people there would like to see in order for change to happen. Carla?
Yeah, Jenny, Police Chief Smith has his officers working 12-hour shifts in response to last night's shooting and the violence we've seen all summer. The officers were noticeable in the neighborhood this afternoon, but people I spoke with say there needs to be more than just additional policing to stop the violence. As Rochester police increase their presence on North Clinton Avenue,
I could tell you force is not going to be the answer.
One resident wonders if that's the answer to preventing the violence. He is calling on city leaders to invest in more resources.
I mean, if they want to save a generation and stop this, well, they got to start thinking about the inner city, because, you know what I mean, all these making downtown look nice and all this other stuff, and it's all good, but I mean, it starts right here. You know what I mean? It starts right here. These kids, you got to save them.
His neighbor, Justin Morris, is on the same page.
The everyday policing that we see is not going to be the answer to stop violence in these communities. We have to saturate these communities with the resources.
They are sick of the violence in this neighborhood. And so are these community members. They lined up on several blocks of the busy street across from where a child was shot in his car seat.
We've been working so hard in this community. You can see we have this beautiful plaza, we have new housing, you know, so many great things are happening here, but the gun violence, it's still very high. You know, it's a lot of systems, right, that we need to work on in order to bring that down.
City Councilman Michael Patterson represents this part of the city. He says the city is doing what it can in investing money into the neighborhood. He is calling on state leaders now to move to implement a dangerous standard in New York so judges can decide whether to set bail.
The people who shoot people are our problem. That's our problem. And until we start addressing the people who shoot people and start putting some accountability in their life, we're going to be in a bad place.
This Sunday, more than a dozen social service organizations are scheduled to set up at St. Michael's Church on North Clinton Avenue. That's one of many efforts happening in the neighborhood to make resources more available to people living there.
Rochester's mayor expressing anger at the shooting scene last night.
And he is not alone. As Cheyenne Walker reports, the county executive and other leaders are also angry and said bail reform is in part to blame.
Yes, Doug and Jenny, there was a lot of raw emotions from county leaders today. The county executive citing 35 people arrested for gun crimes in the last month were released back into Rochester streets due to bail reform.
I don't think anyone, I don't care where you are on the political spectrum, can look at what's happening in the city of Rochester, what they're experiencing right now, and think that this is okay. It's not.
I don't know who could listen to what happened yesterday and just not be totally disgusted with where we're at. A 3-year-old was shot.
When is enough enough? We have to stop the politics over people. We have to stop.
And the county executive adding today that people who are not outraged by violent crime in Rochester are not paying attention.